to work, it's not working. Sit up. It's not working, so we just have to do this shit. So there's this issue that I'm really interested about or in, that is parenting and raising of kids, and when it comes to kids, that is both boys and girls. I'm not into the other differences. So there's this people are divided on how to raise kids. You find that we raise boys differently than we raise girls, but then now because we raise them differently, we don't teach them on how to co-interact or co-live with each other long term in their relationships. Let me take for an example. There's everyone is coming up with girl empowerment, the girl child, the girl child, the girl child. It's a good thing, actually. It's very good, and we all want our daughters to be empowered and independent and make something out of themselves, because we don't want their husbands to desert them because they didn't go to school or they don't have their own money, which depends on the husband that you have or you want, because there are husbands who have money and all they want is a housewife. I know the notion of a housewife has been put to where it's women feel like it's a bad term, it's misogynist and stuff, but that is a topic for a different time. Now let's go to boys. How am I telling parents to raise their boys differently from the girls? Okay, the first thing is, if you want to raise your girls and boys differently, but then you put them in the situation where they'll be the same people in relationships long term. Let's say I have a son, or I have sons. The first thing I will tell my sons when they are growing up, when they start to understand things of relationships and long term, I'll start to tell them, I'll teach them that, look, women are the most precious things you'll ever have in your life as a man. So that means you have to take care of them, you have to protect them, you have to love and care for them, and you always have to be there for them, because women are vulnerable and they always need that, right? And the second thing I will teach them is that, hey, my son, don't go out and have as many women as you want or you think you may get, but get a woman you like and commit yourself to them. If that doesn't work out or don't work out, get another woman you equally like and is invested in you as much as you're invested in them, and then you guys ride the ride. Don't go on finding this woman, that one, and putting them all together, because it's a lot of stress and a lot of energy. Now that is for the boy child. I'll come back to more on the boys. Let me teach my girls now, because this is the most important. This is the most important. You have your girls, and don't tell your girls that boys are bad, because that way they'll grow up with a leftist mindset. Tell your girl, say, baby girl, how are you? Now you're getting into the age where you're starting to know boys, right? You have your brothers, you have your cousins, you have your nephews, you have all this, you have your boyfriends from school and everything. These people are not bad people, but you have to understand that they are also very dangerous people. Depending on what morals and principles you want your daughters to have, tell them, okay, this is just me telling you guys how to raise your kids. You don't have to buy my ideas or anything. Tell your girls that these boys are very dangerous equally, as much as they are good and they'll protect you. If you find the wrong guy, he will want to break your virginity. That is the first thing, and let you go. And he will just use you. Just tell your daughters that most of these guys will use you and let you go. which is a good thing and a bad thing, because you have to give them both sides, the downside and the upside. Tell them most of these guys will just want to use you for sex and leave you. But then this is how you go on if you want to vet who is a good guy or who is a bad guy. So because you're a father in their life, they already have a figure to look up to on how you treated their mom, on how you showed up for them. So you tell them there are different situations in a relationship, probably more than 3. The first one, it's as a woman, you'll find a guy who is rich, and his life is set. Maybe doesn't have a baby mama, maybe has a baby mama and the things didn't work out, and he wants to take you into his life, and he doesn't want you to work, but he will provide for you everything. Those guys still exist. So if you find such kind of a guy, this is what you do. Now that is just the first instance. Now you're telling your girl. The second instance is you'll find a guy, maybe probably you guys are childhood friends and you guys are growing together, maybe you guys meet in campus or anywhere, but then this guy has a dream, has a vision, has a plan, and he's shown you that, hey, this is my plan in the next 2 years, this is my plan in the next 3 years. But then with that plan, he's working on it. There's something that is constantly doing, that is showing you the effort. Wachana now watu kuongea tu, they'll just be telling you, hey, next year I want to do this, in 3 years I want to do this, but next year is coming, nothing is happening. Even currently, nothing is going on in his life. That's a big lie. And then you'll also find the other third guy who probably, let's say, he's married or he's divorced and things didn't work out for him. But then that's most part of that is, I wouldn't advise my daughter to really consider going into that direction most of the time, because this man is all, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it's, I can't really advise on that side, but let's work with the two sides, because people think that okay, mostly women these days, they're looking for money. It's not a bad thing. Okay, now the third guy is, thank you for remembering. The third guy is the guy who has money, who doesn't care about you, who doesn't give a damn about they just want to come to their life. They can dispose you anytime they want, and that is the one that women and mothers and fathers fear of the most. They're very charismatic, they come out as the bad boys and they give you all those things you want, but the long time you're going to suffer. Mostly the Subaru boys, I'm just saying. So what normally happens in that situation is that you find a guy is rich, he has everything put up, and he's bringing you into his life as a disposable, let's say, income woman. So he's like, you can be here, but I don't really care about you like that. So it's just like you being used or anything. But then these things really happen in real life. But let's go back to the basics of it. If you teach your girls that there are these 3 guys in the society, or if you have another example of 4 or 5 examples, so they have a pool of, they have a variety, or they have things to relate from. So you tell them there are these 4 guys in the society. This is how each and everyone behave, and then this is how you vet. You see? So if your daughter goes to campus, here's daddy in her mind telling her, hey, watch out for John, watch out for, I know John, watch out for Brian, watch out for Hillary, watch out for Dennis. Okay, those are guys I know. So watch out for such kind of characters and everything. And you give them a balance. You tell them this could work, but in this line. This works, but in this line. Because you can't put them on one side and tell them all men are bad, because they're going to grow up resenting men because all men are bad, which is a bad thing. And let's go back to boys. If you teach your boys to protect the girls, then when they grow up, they're like, if I find a woman, you even teach your sons when they become of age that this is how you also vet women. Now let's go into that, because most of our parents don't even talk about that because they fear for it. Now, if I am a father and this is how I'm going to raise my sons, I'll tell them there are very different kinds of women. There, the first basic one is pretty with no brains, pretty with brains, and all that. And yeah, it's so funny to me because I don't know. That is how it comes. It sounds how it comes out for me. So there are different women. So as a guy, you have to know what you want, and if you are brought up with morals, values, and principles, those are the first things you pick or go for in a relationship. You find a woman who has morals, who has values, and has principles, if you are for that. But if you want the other side of the coin, you can go and find those women because they are available everywhere. But then let's not drift away. Let's get back to the son and his dating life and how he's supposed to vet women. There are women who just want to be loved and loved. There are women who just want to have sex with you and leave. There are women who just want to... Okay, before you even get to that, there are chaotic women, there are calm women, and there are good women and bad women. Who are the bad women? Very chaotic, very narcissistic, very dramatic. Who are the good women? The calm, the submissive and stuff. Doesn't mean the other side, the other women could not be submissive. They could be if they find the man they want. But let's get into it. Now you tell them there are good women and bad women. Who are the bad women? These are the bad women, and these are the relationships that if you get into, could not end up so well for you, and will end up draining your energy, your stuff and everything, and you won't find things going on well for you. So you really have to watch out as a father, because even if I had to go, I really wanted to have somebody to have this conversation with, but then I have just to get into it so that we just understand how we are supposed to raise our girls and our boys. Because I see middle class families and the rich people really raise these entitled kids who really don't know how to approach life. They approach life from a free soul kind of style, but real life is not free soul. Real life is challenges, real life is real talk, real life is a lot of hard conversations, and most of our parents don't have those hard conversations, most probably because they're afraid of us. But I'm really privileged. I grew up from where we had dinner talk, where after dinner, when the plates are out of the table, we could just sit up and talk. And we started talking about these things when I was in primary. So I grew up knowing these are the kind of good people, these are the kind of people I really don't want to deal with long term. Another thing on that is that you realize that as you grow old, your kids really look up to you. And if you have kids, there are other parents who put them on the extreme. The extreme means they are locked, they have no interaction with the world, and then when they go out, bro, these women just become wild. The wildest people you'll ever know. The same, this guy has not seen anything, no drugs, no nothing, he's not exposed to anything. When you release them out to the wild, bro, these people are just some wild as animals. You don't even know how to deal with them. Because I am talking this out of experience. I have a lot of friends, most of them from campus. So what I used to do in campus, if I met somebody that I'm interested in talking to you, or we could be in a conversation, the first thing I did was try to understand where you're coming from, the kinds of parents you have, and what made you to be making these decisions in life, like your childhood and the patterns that brought you to who you are today. And what I realized is that the there are other people who came from wenye walifungiwa, but they still came out good people because they still maintain the morals, values and the principle. But most waliachiliwa wakaenda wakakuwa wabaya, but when they come home they're like, oh, simulinifungianga hapa nje, so they just pretend to be like they're those kids, good kids. But then when they're out in campus, bro, those kids are wild. A lot of smoking, a lot of alcohol and a lot of stuff. And with that also brings me to something where I realized when I was in campus. You find that your daughter came to campus, she was very innocent, very naive, and then she finds this bad boy from Kisumu Kondele. And then this boy now starts to, because she comes to campus looking for love, because that is what she's been taught her whole life, that enda campus utapata bwana yako, go to campus you'll find love. It's a nice analogy, it's a nice story. But now your daughter comes to campus and then she finds this handsome, charismatic, bad dude guy from Kondele. She falls in love. It's natural. Women love certain characters in men. So what happens? She does it. So the guy slowly is like, hey, today I'm going out with my friends. Can you have a thought? The first time she's like, no, I didn't grow up in that. But the guy cons her into it. I don't know, for lack of a better word, into it, and then she's like, she takes the thought for the first time. She's immersed, she misbehaves few times here and there, but then the guy has her in control. Before you know it, this woman slowly is getting herself into alcohol, which is, I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm not going to judge. She becomes an alcoholic when she's in school. When she's home, she's a very good girl. With alcohol, another thing that comes in is weed. I don't know if it's a bad thing, I don't know if it's a good thing. So she starts consuming alcohol and weed at the same time. So she becomes, when they're with the guy, she's dependent on, she has been introduced to that cycle, which is a good thing. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Now, what happens? They break up. It's a habit that now has been formed. So you know there is no going back. So that is why, again, I'm telling women and our kids who are girls that you have to really watch out for who you hang out with, because and what I always tell these girls is, even I'll tell my daughters, if this guy, the first thing you fall in love and what is introducing you to is the alcohol and drugs, then I don't think it's a very good path to follow, because you don't want to be dealing with that for the rest of your life. Maybe if you become an addict. I don't know if that's a good thing or it's a bad thing. That one is you to decide. But then let's also look at it from this point. There are other good women who have morals, values and principles. They'll go to campus, they'll be good girls, they'll get heartbroken a few times here and there, but then they don't become prey of the bad boys because they still have morals, values and principles. But then it's so hard. There's always a very thin line in campus of knowing who is genuine and who is not genuine. I have been there, my friend, and it's so hard. And